did talk about, the fact that there was the errant drone strike that killed 10 members of their family, and they're still awaiting compensation. Guess what?
You're never getting it.
You're never getting it.
But this is something that I don't think that we talk about enough, because, when we talk about, troops coming home from Afghanistan, and yes, that's a great thing. That should have happened. But we're not addressing the drone strikes that we're continuously doing that apparently had a 90% civilian casualty rate. And the only person that's gotten in trouble for that is Daniel Hale, who exposed it and is now getting 45 months in prison. I think the drone strikes are not, we don't see what that looks like. And so it's easy for us to ignore it. And I think this is a huge problem.
But so again, we can talk about the drone strikes. We can talk about the pollution that the military leaves behind. We could talk about how the largest polluter in the world, or in the United States of America, is the American military. We can talk about all the money it's pulling away from all the social safety programs we need in America. We can talk about all of it, and I told you that all encompasses. What I tell you at the beginning of this conversation, the military-industrial complex is the unforeseen hand that moves this entire country. And in turn, moving the country, we move the global economy. That's what maintains our hegemony, is the military-industrial complex. That is the damn Leviathan that we have to tackle. All of this stuff, and nobody speaks about it, because look at the Dixie Chicks. They said something about it, their careers were ended. Nobody wants to be the person to step out. Even Bernie Sanders, who's fearless, you hear one or two things about the military-industrial complex from Bernie. He says it here, he says it there. He doesn't beat it like I beat it. AOC says here, she says it there. She doesn't go after it like I go after it. And it's not the discredit to them, it's because they don't understand how to approach the situation, and they don't want to be labeled as, not supporting the troops. Because even to this day, it's still a death knell for your political career if you're anti-American troop. But it's a lot different when it's one of the American troops standing up and telling you that this is all BS.
That is and again, as you said, you are the unicorn. You are a black man in America who is saying that this is all bullshit. It works both ways. There's not one party who's, one party may be more rah-rah about it than the other one, but they're all part of the same team.
You can check the FEC filings and see they take the same money.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That's the whole point. I mean, that's the thing about, our representative who takes the most amount of money from, the Cuban regime change PAC or whatever you want to call them.
Oh, yeah.
So, the lines are not divided anymore. I mean, they never really were, but now, I mean, they're just completely blurred, especially when it comes to the MIC. And but there's also this uprising of sorts of a lot of people who are really getting tired of, the way that we just pillage the rest of the world. And I think it was very symbolic that when we had People's Day the other day, because that is the day that should be celebrated. We
celebrated a day early.
Yes, but there is no reason to celebrate Columbus Day. It more or less just symbolizes everything that we shouldn't be. You want to have Italian Heritage Day.
See, that I understand.
That could easily be a holiday, especially in New York, as you know. Columbus Day is rigorously celebrated in New York, but a lot of it just has to do
Italian heritage.
It is an Italian Heritage Day, and that's what it should be. But when it comes to, as we, said the other day, doing Indigenous Peoples Day, the fact that they were able to vandalize, President Jackson's statue across from the White House says that a lot of people are not talking about it, but I really think we're reaching a breaking point with a lot of people in this country. How do you feel about that?
Yes and no. I mean, our country is so big. People don't understand that we're the third most populous nation on the planet. There's China, there's India, there's the United States of America. Mm-hmm. We don't think about it like that, but you see countries in Africa, you're like, they got to have more. No, there's a lot of people in this country, 330 plus million people in this country. And sadly, we know that there's more. So there are about 60 million kids in this country, so we can take them out of the equation. Boom. So out of that, that's 270 million people left. Yeah. We know half of those people are Trump supporters. Almost half. They voted for him. We know there's 70, 80 million people in this country who we don't share a common reality. You know what I mean? That we have common humanity, but they don't even understand that because they look at gays as less. They look at as immigrants as less. They look at black people as less. So we don't share a common reality. I can't even get you to understand my common humanity. So where's the turning point? The turning point seems to be like the people talking in their echo chamber of pain, but we already know the problem. We already know what's wrong. We need to get the other half to understand the plight that we're talking about. If not, then we're just sitting in our hermetically sealed echo chamber of pain. You know what I mean? Black people know we've gotten a raw deal. LGBT people know they got a raw deal. Immigrants know they got a raw deal. Women know they got a raw deal. Disabled know they got a raw deal. We need to get the other half to understand what we're talking about, or we're just spitting into the wind for mixing metaphors. So
Yeah.
I think there's not a change. I think there's been an awakening, a huge awakening, especially in the younger generation, because guess what? For the first time in human history, we had the most technologically advanced generation sit down for an entire year with nothing to do but watch how the political process unfolds. We had that for an entire year. So all the questions that they may have had in passing that they didn't have time to figure out because they were doing something else, they had nothing but time to figure out. And there's been an entire generation of people who have been awakened to the BS that's going on in America. And now if we can get those people mobilized, then that change that we're talking about or hopefully seeing can come to fruition.
That is
I hope so. I am of the thought that I'm not really big on the idea of monuments. I also don't think we should have humans on currency, just like I don't think humans should be mascots. I think it's this sort of like false sense of idol worship in any direction. Like I think we could use like animals and parts of nature on our currency. But these statues we know were not put up in a historical context. They were put up generally during the civil rights era and prior as means of intimidation. And a lot of them are actually really cheap and hollow on the inside. And they were really just put up to be threatening. And they weren't done out of, and so it's interesting to me that people claim this sort of like we're tearing down history. And I'm thinking, all right, well, stick it in a museum somewhere and move along.
But the irony of that is you put up a statue of a guy from the Civil War during the Civil Rights era in the Civil Rights era to intimidate people that couldn't even come to the damn area where the statue was at. I don't care if I wasn't allowed on that part of town. I'm never going to see General Custer sitting up there. I don't know. I'm not going to see Robert E. Lee. I don't know. I'm not allowed in that part of town. What the hell? You know what I mean? So that's the irony of it. Like we're going to intimidate those black folks. You don't have to over here to see the statues that's supposed to intimidate us. What the hell?
Well, we do have one creative idea here in Florida. We don't have many of them, but apparently there is a petition to change the name Lee County to Bruce Lee County here in Florida. I think that's pretty cool.
Florida still has Dixie Highway. Florida still has, they have Winn-Dixie. They have, I know. Florida has its own checkered past with, you know what I mean?
We've got some issues.
We've got a checkered present.
We have a checkered present. Exactly. We have some serious.
We got a lot going on down here.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some people in New York, and we see like every time we see a headline that says Florida, we're like, okay,
it's got to be Florida.
I don't know what the hell y'all be doing down there. It's Florida.
It's something in the water, and it's being out in the sun way too much. I think it's a combination.
Alligator into McDonald's.
We have some issues.
So obviously, we're obviously very grateful for AOC and the rest of the non-corporate members of, the Democratic Party right now who are holding the line when it comes to this reconciliation bill, which I think would obviously be a huge game changer, particularly when it comes to Medicare expansion. Bernie's proposals are an absolute good. It's not everything we want, but it's certainly moving things in the right direction. Of course, there's also the environmental policies that are there as well that we're trying to hold the line on. But AOC, Ilhan Omar, and I think a dozen other Democrats came out and said, we have to do something about canceling student debt. I mean, this is one of the biggest reasons why, as you talked about, going into the military seems to be one of the only ways out for people who are under immense financial burden. And so this would be a great way to not just stimulate the economy, but it would also give a hell of a lot of credence to the idea that, all right, maybe the Democrats aren't going to get destroyed in the midterms. Everyone's like, Biden's hands are tied. There's nothing that he can do. But he can absolutely cancel student debt. He can absolutely expand Medicare with the stroke of a pen.
It can happen.
He could absolutely decriminalize cannabis across the board.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that he could do through executive action, but he hasn't done anything.
That's not true. And I'm going to give props where props are due. And he did something recently with the national monuments and putting protections back in place.
Okay.
That were very, very good for our indigenous brothers and sisters. That's what I would say. So give props where props are due. But I would also like to point out that Ilhan Omar wearing a white hijab looks like there's a halo around her head to me.
Well, so let me couple things about that situation. One, joining the military doesn't get. I have student loans. Trust me, they only pay for your bachelor's degree. Anything after that, I have student loans for my master's degree. And when I'm going to have hopefully I get a stipend and all that stuff when I go for my PhD. But I have tens of thousands of dollars worth of student loans for a master's degree. So it doesn't guarantee you all your education that you need. That's number one. Number two, Biden has done some things good, right? But remember we talked about at the beginning, there are real lives being affected right now. There are things he could do right now that would change the lives of millions of people. Like you said, I tweeted about this the day he was elected. I said, guess what? The House passed a bill legalizing marijuana, right? Why wasn't marijuana legal in the first 100 days?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and that's the no-brainer. That's the easy one in terms of it's low-hanging fruit.
So imagine how many people have gone to jail between when he was elected and right now for marijuana. How many lives have been destroyed between when he was elected, not elected, but when he was sworn in and right now for marijuana? Tens of thousands of people now have a felony on their record. Tens of thousands of people can't even get those high-ass student loans. They can't apply for a job. They can't get housing. They can't get a loan to start a small business. They can't do any of that stuff because something as simple as legalizing marijuana, which your own Congress already voted for, could have been done on day one with the stroke of a pen. It should have been done on day one when Barack Obama was in office. It should have been done when Clinton was in office. It should have never been criminalized in the first place. But imagine how many people's lives would be changed if he had just done that on day one. So yeah, there's something my drill sergeant used to always tell me, all right? You know what, erases 100 attaboys.
That's right.
So you can do these little things here, there, but until you do something that, is actually going to move people's lives forward, Biden has done a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things he's done, but none of them are transformational. None of them.
That's right. Bingo.
No, that's true. Yes. That's true. Absolutely.
And if it's not transformational, then that more than anything else is, and it's a great point, Isiah, because it's the final story of our news and amuse for the week, which is, of course, Gavin Newsom was able to skate, if you will, to not getting recalled because you had a candidate on the GOP side who was horrible. It just took it to a whole other level of insanity.
I hate to do this, but I have to run because I have
go. We've taken up enough of your time. All right, where can people? What's the website so we can put it up?
The website is Isiah for Congress, but it's all the same handles: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They can find me.
Thank you so much for hanging out. I was just saying, I could talk to Isiah for hours, but go. I know you're busy. Thank you so much.
I'm so tired because I still have another interview thing to do.
All right, go.
Well, this was somebody on the West Coast. I'm like, bro, it's 9:30, but in there it's going on 6:30. So
I know the West Coasters are a pain in the ass seat.
Yeah,
I tell that to Mike Figueredo all the time. Those West Coasters.
I just did his show 2 days ago.
Yeah,
he's
awesome.
Great.
So,
we can't thank you enough for everything that you do.
We'll get
And
you
we
back in the
are,
new
and
year.
can we please commit to going to New York to
We'll
help him
go
at some
help.
point?
We
in the
will
future?
definitely come
We
help.
will be
I'll
there,
be
my
in touch.
friend.
Jen, we always DM each other. You know, fastest way to reach me, Jen, is just Twitter DM, and I'll respond.
Thanks,
Thank
Isiah.
you so much for what y'all do, and it was a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks.
Same to you, my friend.
All
Have a great evening.
Bye. You got to
And if-
put his
and if-
website up.
Yes. Well, apparently we had an issue with a connection. And you know what?
Not on our end. It is, and our end's been fine, and we're in the incognito
Yeah,
zone.
no, it's just saying it over there. So for some reason. We'll try it again.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm having trouble connecting. You know what? If it ain't that, it's something else. So anyway,
Okay.
IsiahForCongress.com.
Guys, Isaiah's the
Please
real
don't check.
deal.
He is the real deal.
He's the real deal.
And like I said, you know, when we went to brand new Congress and we went to the summit, there are always, as the great Randy Macho Man Savage used to say, the cream rises to the top, and the cream absolutely rises to the top.
And we knew it
with
was
Isaiah.
him, Jamal. Well, we didn't really meet Jamal, but we saw him briefly. And
No,
Corey.
I
we knew it was Corey.
No,
and we
I would say of all the people that were there, I would say Isaiah and Corey stood out
for sure.
as much as anybody that was there. And that was what it was all about. And so the final story.
But can we wait?
Yeah, it was good.
But see, okay, the fact
yes,
is
I just
that,
realized.
Okay, so this is for people who are audio. We have the two articles, and there's an Ilhan Omar picture.
We have another Lulu sighting. Too,
okay, so Ilhan Omar is saying we must help students, and then Gavin Newsom is saying screw the students. But the thing is that, and I'd like to point out, Gavin Newsom also not a Jew, right? Not a Jew. Okay, and I put the horns on him. See, not anti-Semitic, devil horns, because, and then. I do think.
What are you doing to a good Irish Catholic?
And I don't care. And I do think that Ilhan's white hijab does sort of look like a halo. So I think it's kind of funny. But anyway, go ahead. You want to talk about what Gavin Newsom is not?
So when anybody talks about the governor who is going to run for president, it's just a question of whether it's 24, 28. So get ready because it's coming. Something as simple as the Cal Grant, which is California's version of the Pell Grant. This is to help the most financially strapped people in society get an education. And he is vetoing this bill, which would have helped 150,000 Californians.
But to what end, other than we know? We know it obviously has something to do with whoever his financial. This is the same man who was basically like the booty judge in the wine cave. Wasn't it like that kind of thing? Like with his big donor dinner. And so he's got probably huge donors that are the financial industry that do not want student loan forgiveness because that's their gravy train.
Just like he's taking money out the yin yang from big oil. They're still drilling off the coast of California. And you would think what just happened would have stopped it.
Yeah.
You would think something so cataclysmic as what just happened in Southern California with that drilling accident, that would be it. That there's already enough of an environmental burden in California that somebody would have stepped up and said, that's it. But again, it doesn't matter what your party is.
But I will say this, the fact that he is basically a corporate whore who does basically the bidding of the same corporations that Republicans do, that will not be enough to differentiate him in any way, shape, or form from whoever the Republican is who is running. And they will run into the same problem, whether it's him, whether it's, I don't even know who else they think is going to come up and run. I don't know who they're thinking
in California?
Of. No, I'm talking about
for president. Oh, Buttigieg.
But okay,
so,
also
now, of course, if you're asking now, if you're asking who do I think would have a better chance in terms of being able to sell the empire? Oh, it's Gavin Newsom.
Way
it's not
over
even a question.
Well, Buttigieg
not even a question.
Yeah, no.
Gavin Newsom he's a JFK.
Not just that, you're talking about the difference of somebody who's run the state of California, which was like the 4th largest economy in the world, versus somebody.
Well, of course, I ran the great state of California for 8 years.
Whereas,
and I became president, and I didn't have much in the brain.
Somebody like Buttigieg was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and did a horrible job, and his legacy there is horrible.
And the history of being the governor of California has always been a huge springboard. Remember, it produced President Nixon. It produced President Reagan. It almost produced President Brown. He was second to Clinton in '92. So,
and yet I don't see this happening
No, I don't. Well, again, I think our country
He's
is
too
changing
corporate.
too much.
Where people are, to me,
If
what
Gavin-
makes him different, like than saying he's like Obama?
Well, that's
essentially?
what I was saying. You took the words out of my mouth.
We
I
always
said,
sound
well,
like
if
he's like
yeah.
Obama.
Well,
He's
if he
just-
had run for president back in 2008, after he, around the time that he became the mayor of San Francisco, like what? Because I've seen Newsom coming for a long time.
He's very
And
neo-lib
very
and
much.
very part of the establishment and just very elitist.
But
and
you can tell that he's somebody who, to the normie Dems and to the people who don't pay attention, he's going to be tough to beat because people buy into his BS.
well, yes, yeah,
And he's also over woke, so he plays into that garbage
that's
as
like
well.
a requirement for California, though.
It's not, but again, and the reason why I come down hard on some of these social issues is because as much as the social issues matter, they pale in comparison to economic issues and to the things that he has done as governor and the fact that he just spit in the face
Of students,
of so many
don't
students.
get that. Okay, it's such a.
And again, why is it? Why would it be? Because the banks own the debt and they don't want to have any of it taken away. Why? Because they're
not.
making money hand over fist in interest payments.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.